Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a react video, which I don't typically do. However, a viewer sent me a video this morning called quote unquote the downfall of Sparkle. And as somebody who's been a main of the character for over a year now, I feel personally attacked. So today we're going to react to this full video and figure out if the character really has fallen off. I mean, I'll be honest, I already know the answer. The answer is no. But I'm willing to hear out my guy Vars here anyways as to why the character's fallen off. But I can't fathom a reason why she's fallen off. That just doesn't make any sense in my head. But anyways, let's get into it.
Back through Honkai Star Rail's tenure, though it's only been roughly 2 years,
abs.
a lot has happened during that short
abs.
time. Characters have been pumping out in rapid succession without fail, and things have been improving and declining in equal measure. Such a breakneck pace of power scaling is unsurprisingly led to questions over the sustainability of the game's future. Mainly in that, what's the
power
point of
creep
going
is
after
ending
a
everything
meta-breaking unit if 3 weeks later there would be another meta-breaking unit? Although I don't think it's that bad. Many would agree that a number of version 1 units, while perhaps not as prevalent as they used to be, are still more than serviceable in the modern era. All the same, the fast deterioration in presence for many of the game's older units has prompted Hoyo to release direct buffs to a number of them in an effort to not cause them to fall out the metagame completely. So far, all targets have belonged to version 1, but it begs the question if power creep has also begun to affect.
These buffs are gonna be dog crap, by the way. I don't want to say anything, but like, bro, how the hell are they gonna buff just Kafka? Like, she is the staple DOT unit. And if they don't buff everyone else around her, I actually just don't see a way where Kafka becomes better. But I guess we'll wait and see what they do.
The number of version 2 characters. At the time of her release, Sparkle had to have been one of the most hyped characters of all time, with supports being viewed as the most valuable category in HSR's team building environment, and Sparkle carrying a most extraordinary profile of abilities. Players were confident that she would stay relevant in the game for a long time to come. Yet, as early as midway through version 2, she began to lose considerable market share.
That's cap.
And in the present day, as we progress through version 3, Sparkle's equity across all 3 game modes currently ranks the lowest among her peers. Not what you would expect for a...
No, this can't be real. This actually can't be real. Hold up. She's less used than Acheron? She's less used than Luocha? Zhao? What is this crap? Who are these people that are submitting the... Bro, there is just simply no way. To be fair, this is still like top like 4... I don't feel like counting, but this is still like top like 20 characters in the game, man. It's not bad. I mean, it's still like the upper ranks of characters. Like when you really compare it, like you still got like Fei Zhao below her, Rappa's below her down here. I think the bottom is AP Shadow, middle's Pure Fiction, and top is MOC, I would assume. It's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as it seems.
Support many once believed to be invaluable. For today, we'll be discussing the downfall of Sparkle and whether or not she may have been the most overrated character in the game. Not to any fault of her own. Characters that got released around this time were starting to get more intentional. We had Argenti, who was very clearly made for Pure Fiction, Runmei, who was meant to be a general buffer and debuffer, and Black Swan, who was supposed to push forward the dot engine. Up to that point though, there hasn't been a whole lot of developments, if at all, in the carry department, as throughout most of version 1, Bronya was pretty much a tier 0 character who was being used in every possible team due to a lack of alternatives who did exactly what she could. That all changed when Sparkle came out as the second character of version 2.0, possessing a number of qualities approximating that of the Eurilla Supreme Guardian, but with more potential for upside, leading many to believe she might very well be the single best character in the game on account of
True! Based and true. Still is number 1.
Supplanting the previous best character in the game, broadly speaking. Reception
Bronya
towards
fell off.
Was infectious to say the least. In fact, while this isn't related to her in-game, she received by far the highest views on a trailer than any other limited 5-star character before. It's
because that trailer was absolute cinema, man. That trailer was absolute cinema, and the fact that we're getting to see it in this video, oh, it's pure elation, man.
Since registering over 20 million views, I still remember the sheer amount of discussion over her being the first instance of blatant power creep, having a constant comparison argument against Bronya over who is truly better. Though the two weren't exactly one-to-one, by and large, players were in agreement that Sparkle would be a direct upgrade in many noteworthy teams at the time, with the reasons being fairly self-evident. Bear in mind, we're still looking at this from the standards of early 2024 when the game was only about 8 months old. Sparkle had a number of things going for her that made her stand head and shoulders above most of the competition, besides maybe Runmei. Unlike Bronya, whose crit damage boost was to the entire party, Sparkle's boost was only to one person. However, unlike Bronya, whose general damage boost was to only one person, Sparkle's damage boost was to the entire party. I'd say practically speaking that was the better orientation. Seldom did you ever need 2 crit-based DPS characters. Moreover, Sparkle could apply these buffs at higher amounts and for more turns, giving her better uptime and consistency overall. Regarding her turn events, people...
This video is so sexy, man. I wish he'd just keep talking like this to me for like the rest of the video, but I know we're about to get to the part where he's going to start slandering her. But I'm really enjoying this video so far. This is good.
Raised an eyebrow over whether her 50%
just keep gassing her up.
Objectively worse than Bronya's full turn advance. But after some testing, it was concluded that 90% of the time, assuming proper speed manipulation, it was close enough to be almost equivalent to a full turn advance in application. We could stand here splitting hairs about the specifics of their buffing capability all day, but for the most part, Sparkle and Bronya weren't that far off from each other. So why did
what he means to say is Sparkle was better. Anyways.
People see the former as that much better than the latter, and by extension, why did people see her as one of if not the best character in the game at one point? It's because of the other aspect of her, one that effectively served as the central focus of Honkai style's metagame for a long time, skill points. SP economy was a critical factor of interest throughout version 1 and even early version 2. Some characters had the potential to contribute extremely well to a party but would be rendered basically ineffective on the sole basis of SP economy, rather inefficient SP economy. Considered arguably the worst support character in the game, you wouldn't think that at first when you saw what Yukong could provide. 80% attack boost, 28% crit rate, 65%.
That hurts. But it's probably true though. Is there anyone worse than Yukong? Probably not.
Crit damage, 12% imaginary damage, and 10% speed. These were even more impressive than Bronya's buffing profile, yet Yukong saw zero play for the sheer fact that in addition to her being extremely hard to operate, her SP consumption was by far one of the worst in the game. At least if you wanted her to be more usable, you'd be spending so much to maintain her uptime that you'd have nothing else for the rest of the team. On the inverse end, units like Locha and Jingliu were touted for being very SP efficient, mostly in the sense that they didn't have to necessarily spend skill points every action. It became of utmost importance to prioritize units who took up as little SP as possible. Sparkle's unique property was that she could not only replenish a team's SP supply through her ultimate and technique, letting you make use of more demanding characters like
7 of them boys.
Seela and Lunai Dan.
Oh, it was so good.
She passively raised your SP cap to 7, which had...
Fuck, Imbiber Lunai fell off so hard, man. So did Seela. I mean, Seela is... she's gone.
At the time was inconceivable. She essentially broke the rules of the game, something no one else was able to do prior, with SP being the be-all end-all for many parts.
But now every character just breaks the game, right? I assume where we're probably going to go in this video, little prediction is that the SP bar doesn't matter as much anymore because the developers just decided, let's just make characters not use skill points anymore. And I assume that's probably where the logic of this video is going to be heading. I would fathom.
People were postulating all kinds of ways to make better use of it, and immediately overnight, Sparkle was given the title of must pull by many.
Whoa! Wait! Hold up.
Sparkle was given the title of...
That's my video! Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I did title must pull. Oh. Man, this video fell off. 13k views? Damn. This video is probably going to get even less. Holy crap, I'm falling off. What happened? Textone got 80,000 more views than me. Good to know.
Must pull by many. She could be used for Lunai Dan Heng, for Seela, for Argenti, for Jinyu and Qingque, Dr. Ratio. The only ones who didn't really go after her immediately were Jingliu and Blade, mostly because they could use other characters better, as well as not really being SP spammers. I'm pretty sure even then, though, Sparkle was still the best in slot by like a tiny margin.
Okay, good.
That wouldn't even be the biggest perk.
I'm happy you
said
said that.
The very next character to be released in 2.1 was Akron, who oversaw the biggest leap in power in the history of HSR. For now. She was easily double the strength of the second best DPS, that's how crazy she was. And while Akron was designed to want other Nihility units in a party, it was actually more worthwhile in many situations to go Sparkle over Nihility, due to how much power she could give the Emanator.
I still be using that comp.
S1 Akron, your team of herself, Silver Wolf or Pela, depending on the content, Sparkle and Fushuan would curb stomp the shit out of everything the current endgame had to offer without even so much as batting an eye, lending even more appeal to Sparkle, who at that point became determinedly and empirically the best support in the game.
True and based.
However, she wouldn't be dominant for very long. One could argue the only reason she was in that position to begin with was because it was one of the first combat engines to...
I feel like Akron was still good until maybe 2.7. I feel like Akron was good for a long time. Me personally. I can't remember that far back though in those MOCs, but I feel like I still use her till 2.6, 2.7.
Get off the ground. Come 2.2, Robin would enter the fray, and alongside Ranmei, the three ladies basically were the HSR equivalent of the Egyptian god cards. broken ass characters who basically won you the game by playing them. Yes, I know, Yu-Gi-Oh players, don't you? Well, actually me, I know the official cards are all garbage, I'm talking about the anime versions, but I digress. The Harmony Trio would be the centerpiece of version 2's metagame for quite some time, all the way until around 2.7. Each of them drew appeal for offering a slew of all-purpose buffs that could be utilized by just about everyone, while additionally carrying a niche of her own. Robin was specialized in follow-up attacks, although later we discover she's kind of just the best unconditional support. Anyway, Runmei was specialized in break teams, and Sparkle was specialized in hyper carries. Each unit of the Harmony Trio also had a tier 0 party at the time. A byproduct of this, of course, is that Sparkle went from being the option to an option. Akron was still
well, I don't know about all that. Partially, I'd say she's still the option. I mean, design-wise, she outscales, right? Why don't we discuss that? Design-wise, she clears easily. Like, why would you want to use a Robin? She's like a bird. That's dumb.
This, of course, is that Sparkle went from being the option to an option. Akron was still far and away the best attacker in the game, even with the release of Firefly, but the others weren't too far behind her. By extension, people didn't think of Sparkle as someone that had to be played, rather someone who could. Furthermore, the inclusion of Robin complicated things a bit. Though she was a follow-up attack-oriented specialist, her general buffing was easily the strongest of the three. She offered the exact same buffs as Sparkle did in the form of crit damage and regular damage. Mind you, not as much as a fireworks girl, but enough to compete. Then, however, Robin would also give
It's really pissing me off that he's right. I don't like this being said out loud. This is stuff that's meant to be kept on the down low. You're not meant to say this stuff out loud, man.
An unconditional bonus attack to the entire party as well, which allowed her to be played in teams that didn't stand to gain much from crit damage like the Dot engine. Chief of all,
you can use Robin and Dot? I've never thought of that before. You could do that? I've never tried that, and I'm sure nowadays that comp is probably completely and utterly dead. I'm sure that's not even like capable of doing crap now.
Was their team-wide turn advance on her ultimate, and simply being able to apply buffs to the entire team instead of a portion dedicated only to one character. So in a sense, though Sparkle still had Akron and a few others wrapped around her finger, Robin for all intents and purposes stole a good chunk of market share away from her. And with the emerging follow-up
what did that text say?
Good chunk of market share away from
It was discovered later on that Robin was still better than Sparkle and Akron teams. Lol, you're just capping. That's just not true. I haven't tested it. I don't know anything. But my gut instinct is telling me that is a false statement. But I'm not here to argue the meta. This guy, I assume this guy probably knows more than me. But instinctually, I know it in my heart. I know it in my heart of hearts that that is false.
From her. And with the emerging follow-up attack and break engines receiving all the attention throughout spring and summer of last year, though she was still a deserving member of the Trinity, Sparkle was considered to be the weakest.
We're getting into the deep end now. I can see that we're starting to move through the versions. Whoa, we're getting to the break meta. Now we're going to get to... Oh, it's all going downhill.
So the three outside of Akron teams. Also as a footnote, Jingyuan and Lunai Danhang both began to fall off and were no longer being widely used around this time.
Yeah.
Another growing concern was that Sparkle's niche was starting to become more of just that, a niche. The majority of meta teams had little interest in the type of buffs that she offered. Once again, besides Akron, follow-up attackers could utilize her party-wide damage buff, but we just established that Robin is statistically the better choice for those teams. Dot engines made no use of crit whatsoever, making specialized utility like Runmei's more appealing. Break engines made use of neither crit damage nor general damage on account of break damage being its own specific thing. So
I use Sparkle in my break comps, me personally.
By all accounts, after Akron came out, none of the attackers during this time labeled Sparkle a must-have for them. She could be used, but it wouldn't be optimal. Boonhill preferred Bronya over Sparkle thanks to Bronya's actual full turn events and Boonhill's disregard for all of Sparkle.
You know what's crazy about this whole video? Regardless of everything this guy's about to say here, all the slander he's about to put on, correct slander though. I guess slander isn't the correct term here. It'd be like probably objectively correct points he's about to make about Sparkle in the next probably 5 minutes of this video. Regardless of all that, I'm still going to E6 the character. I believe we're at E2 right now. I'm not going to wail for it, but I'll tell you what, if she gets another rerun, I'm going all in. And I swear to everything, Dalway, if you put her on that goddamn standard banner, I am gonna lose my mind. Please, I swear to God, if they do that, I'm gonna cry.
Other buffs. Firefly would much rather have Runmei's break efficiency, res penetration, speed, and break extensions to apply as many counts of super break as she could. Jade, despite being a quantum secondary attacker, was not at all compatible with Sparkle, as the Stoneheart was a pure fiction focused unit.
I use Jade and Sparkle like every single day. Bro, that's like my main squad. It's V Herta, Jade, Sparkle, Aventurine. I use that squad on everything. But he's probably right. Probably is just better. I'm just salty. I just force my main into teams because I'm cringe and lame.
Not a hypercarry facilitator. Not back then anyway. Yunli's high personal damage would lead you to believe she could use Sparkle to the fullest, but being a counterattacker, she didn't really care about taking extra turns. She would much rather prefer if the enemies took extra turns. For that matter, counterattacks are follow-up attacks, therefore Yuli wants Rappa. Facial was of course the poster child of the follow-up attack engine, and Rappa is all about break damage. Something else that took place around this time was the growing rate of SP efficiency in parties, not just in terms of DPS, but supports and sustains too. Aventurine and Gallagher were both economical additions to the sustain roster, meanwhile damage dealers like Jade and Rappa were also fairly low maintenance. Harmony Trailblazer would prefer to use their skill every turn for the purposes of DPS and energy, but ultimately they don't have to in order to function. Not a single unit following Akron would fit Sparkle's niche of necessitating crit damage, turn advancement, and higher speed capacity. Technically, she kinda didn't need another one insofar as Akron was still standing tall throughout version 2.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
2. But as you get more options, you have less reasons obligating you to use them, and characters have been starting to catch up to Akron in performance. Now everyone was starting to deal damage in the millions, not just her. Ergo, Sparkle's equity, which at that point was inextricably linked to Akron's, gradually diminished over time. Sparkle was still the best at what she did, but what she did wasn't in high demand like it used to be.
It's in high demand in my heart, though. It's in high demand in my spirit, in my core of being. It's in high demand. At this point, this video is just giving me clinical depression, man. I think I need to go to my therapist after this. Jesus Christ.
Sadly for her, the first half of that statement would soon also no longer apply. Sunday's inclusion of version 2.7 was to Sparkle what Sparkle was to Bronya. Another support.
I hate this dude so much. My pure rage and malice toward this man will never, ever be cleansed. Oh, I hate this character.
Who was in the same vein as her, yet had the ability to perform significantly
Stop.
better, especially in relation to whatever was
Stop.
He could supply a full turn advance to a target just like Bronya, and even refund the skill point if it was on whoever he ulted. Speaking of which, he could give tons of crit damage to said target, and more importantly, bonus crit rate.
Yeah, but her crit damage buff is bigger. It does 100%. His only does like 70, right?
Bronya and Sparkle
Sparkle gives crit rate with her light cone anyways. Just get the light cone, man.
offer. He can also cleanse whomever he's skilled on, the other
Stop.
advantage Bronya had over Sparkle. And while you can only enjoy...
He dispels debuffs? I didn't even know he did that. Whatever, man. Like, dispelling debuffs is lame anyways. Like, my Lynx does that. My Lynx does that. Why do I need him?
advantage Bronya had over Sparkle. And while you can only enjoy for 2 turns, he could give the same general DPS boost the others could give to his ally via his technique. Now, Sunday was of course entirely single target, whereas Sparkle had AoE buffing. However, being split down the middle was actively hurting her in that regard. If you wanted AoE buffing, Robin was just better since everything about her was AoE. If you wanted single target buffing, Sunday was better since everything about him was single target. Sparkle was officially beat on both ends.
Stop. We can't keep saying this. The beat isn't the right word. She was, what's the right word here? She was equalized. Both sides. Robin does some things better than Sparkle, but she still does things that are equally as great. I know a big point of this video is that skill points are no longer necessary. I'm sure we're going to get into this with the 3.0 in a minute here. And I'm aware that Sunday regens some energy, some other crap. But like, you got to keep in mind, skill point regeneration is still huge. She still has some individuality. You know what I mean? The skill point thing is still unique to her. And I'm sure we'll circle back to it in later versions. Prayers.
Carries very much enjoy the Dispel, full turn events, higher crit damage concentration, free crit rate, and battery components that Sunday offered. All the while, multi-damaging parties like the Break and Follow engines wanted party-wide supportive utility from units like Robin and Runmei. Sparkle could no longer hold on to Akron as a lifeline anymore either. Higher investment teams began to make use of Sunday, despite Akron not making use of energy whatsoever. And though Akron still remains an excellent character to this day, Amphoris brought in multiple top-tier hypercarries like Madame Herda, Aglaya, Mide, Casterus, and many more are coming in the future, putting a ton of pressure on Akron, with many believing she's on borrowed time, and that her days are numbered. Sparkle's best carry, losing ground in the metagame, wouldn't even be the least of her problems though. There would be yet another support released in version 3, who all but pushed her out of tier 0 entirely. Enter Trippy, a hybrid between damage and support, as well as being a Harmony character too.
Oh,
While they
shut...
didn't exactly give
Stop! I don't want to hear about Trippy. I like to pretend that character doesn't exist. I had actually just pushed her out of my mind until you reminded me.
Enter Trippy, a hybrid between
Bro,
damage and support, as well
stop.
as being a Harmony character too. While they didn't exactly give the same kind of buffs as other Harmony supports, that actually worked in their favor. In the case of Acheron, she already gets a ton of bonus damage to begin with, courtesy of her passive traces.
Bro. Is Sparkle still, like, best in slot for any composition at all? Like, is she... I'm actually... Is she even like, she's not Acheron anymore. And Biber Lune not anymore. She's not the best in slot Harmony for any single team comp. Okay, man.
Sparkle's damage amps aren't as big as they may appear. Trippy, on the other hand, provides buffs that Acheron doesn't have, like enemy vulnerability, multi-breast pen, or with their first Eidolon, bonus true damage based on a total. An argument can be made that these buffs are statistically better on Acheron than that of crit damage or general damage, not to mention Trippy just having a higher buffing ceiling than Sparkle and possessing the advantage of buffing the entire party, not just one person. All in all, Sparkle did indeed get power crept and in some ways, situation crept. From a circumstantial perspective, Honkai Star Rail spent most of version 2 ignoring the hypercarry engine after Acheron, choosing instead to go into niches that Sparkle did not excel at. Secondarily, SP consumption became less and less onerous of a problem. Then, when they finally started to bring hypercarries back into the metagame, new supports came alongside them, measurably outperforming Sparkle like Sunday and RMC to an extent. Worse yet, non-hypercarries are doing a better job buffing than Sparkle, so in general supports do a better job in a niche than an actual support character dedicated to that niche. That's when you know she got screwed over. This begs the question though, was Sparkle just another victim of circumstance like most other old units, or was she never as good as we thought she was? That it was a time period and the units we had available
It's the prior. She was based and awesome for her time. We remember for the version of her that she was in 2.0. We forget the version of her in 3.0. We just pretend like 7 updates didn't happen and she's just as good as she was. Trust.
The impression of her being this all-powerful support that could do no wrong. I'd say it's a bit of both. She was definitely overhyped, no mistake about that.
Cap, no, she was not overhyped. She was crazy on release. I will stand by that till the day I die. On release, she was insane. Best animations, best character design, best trailer, best kit in the game. I stand on that. On my soul.
In a similar fashion to the Dot Engine, they gave attention to everything in the game except those who worked in her niche. Kind of crazy to think she was once a contender for the best character in the game and now she's barely struggling to be an A-tier character.
Fuck me. Okay. I feel like tier 1 still isn't bad though. Wait, hold up. I have to check the Pridden tier list. Pridden, where's the tier list? Tier 1 like isn't bad, right? Like that's still like, yeah. Like look who else is in tier 1. Fei Zhao. I mean, it's not terrible. I feel like she's fine, man. We're over exaggerating. I feel like tier 1's fine though.
Sparkle's by no means bad, but considering where she started, it's been a pretty steep decline. What do you guys think about Sparkle? Do you agree with my points or do you think I sold her too short? Let me know in the comments down below.
Vars, I think everything you said was correct, and I have no counterpoints or arguments to counter anything you said in this video. However, that doesn't mean I have to like anything you said. No. Jokes aside, great video by Vars here, man. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, definitely going to smash that like button. And if you guys want to check out this video for yourself, I will have it in the link in the description below. So make sure to go check it out. But regardless, I'm going to go cry in a corner now. Peace.